Hi everyone. Today I'm going to show you guys your Dreamworld project and a couple examples of projects that I've done before. And these are actually student examples from like 2 years ago, my first semester at Northern. So I haven't looked at them in a long time and they're really awesome. So I hope that you guys enjoy them. But basically, let's talk about this one. This one shows a really great example of one-point perspective, because if you follow these lines, these checkerboard lines going back, they're all going towards that one point, that vanishing point. And so are the shelves and the counter, everything in the space is lined up towards that one vanishing point. So I want you, the goal of this project is to create a perspective drawing, but also kind of to create your own little world and mix some surrealism in there. So it could be a dream like this, this is kind of realistic, or it could be something crazy like this one. This one is also a good example of one-point perspective, surrealism, because it's all, if you look at the buildings and the road, it's all going back towards this one vanishing point, which just so happens to be in the center of this guy's eye. So just have fun with it. If you're in art 1, then you're in my first period or my 4th period, then your project is to create a one-point perspective drawing and add of your dream world. So add your own surrealist twist to it. So you get to decide and you get to create the kind of world that you see. All right, this is a really good example of an Art 2 project. So for Art 2, you guys will have to choose. Am I gonna do a 2-point perspective surrealism drawing or a 3-point perspective surrealism drawing? So this one, what do you think this one is? Is it 2 or 3? That's right, it's 2-point perspective. Look at the checkerboards. Again, checkerboard is a great way to show perspective and get a sense of space in your drawing. But they're disappearing to one dot right here on the edge of his paper, and then the other vanishing point over here. So it has 2 vanishing points where things slowly get smaller towards those points. This one's also a really great 2-point perspective surrealism drawing. Notice his vanishing points, his 2 vanishing points, one doesn't go all the way to the edge of this side, right? It's kind of resting right here on that horizon line. And that's okay. You don't have to put your 2 vanishing points all the way at the edge of your paper. I think that it actually makes it a little more interesting if they're not perfectly symmetrical. Just gives it a little bit of a different angle. And see how he's added his own surrealist twist to it. He has a monster back here, and it looks like a pterodactyl in the sky to me. So have fun with it. I want you guys to create what you want to create. Come out with a drawing that you like. Now this one is awesome. This one, he worked so hard on this one. And it's a 2-point perspective. But he really liked art, obviously, and he really loved music. And so he put the things that he enjoys into his drawing. He made this sidewalk here a keyboard. He has these giant headphones like in the middle of the street, okay? So put stuff that you enjoy in there as well, all right? So now I'm going to show you guys how to create a 1-point perspective drawing, a 2-point perspective drawing, and a 3-point perspective drawing. So stay tuned, follow along with me, practice with me so that you get a feel for how it works and start to think about your own ideas for your dream world. Okay.
Hello.
Um, so the point or the goal of your Dreamworld project is to show some type of perspective drawing. If you're art 1, you need to do 1 point perspective. If you're art 2, you need to choose 2 or 3 point perspective. And for both of you, you need to incorporate your own surrealist ideas. So it should be a world that you make up. It shouldn't be realistic. The supplies you're going to need is an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper. If you have a bigger one, like if you have a sketchbook or just a larger piece of paper, that would probably be easier and be best to use. But if you just have 8.5 by 11, that is perfectly fine. But absolutely no smaller. If the smaller you get with this project, the harder it will be. Obviously, you will need a pencil and an eraser, and a ruler or some kind of straight edge. We're doing perspective, so it's very mathematical and needs to be correct and straight. The optional supplies, if you have colored pencils, then I highly recommend using colored pencils, and watercolor paint. If you have watercolor paint, you need to try to use at least 2 different materials for this project. If you only have a pencil, then that's okay. Maybe use pencil and a black pen. For today, I'm going to be using a Sharpie to show you your examples, so you can see them better. But you will need to start with a pencil. Okay, so again, color pencils optional, watercolor optional. But if you have them, then I highly suggest you take advantage of that. Okay, so for a 1 point perspective drawing, here is what you will need to do. First, if you're doing a world or some kind of real place, there's going to be a horizon line. So you need to first figure out where your horizon line is going to be. And this is the line that separates the sky and the land. Or if you're doing like an underwater world, then the water or the ocean. Okay, so first figure out your horizon line. And then next, for 1 point perspective, you need 1 vanishing point. So I'm going to find or choose a place on my horizon line to put 1 point. Okay? And that is the point where every line you draw is going to lead you to. Okay? So let's start with something simple. A square or a cube. So draw your square. And please use your ruler or your straight edge. Okay, and then in order to make it a cube in perspective for this drawing, all of your corners of your square need to lead to this point, be lined up to this point. So I'm looking at this corner, I'm going to put my ruler there, and I'm trying to line it up to that vanishing point. So it should be a straight line from this corner to your point. Now I'm just doing a cube, so I'm just going to go back a little bit. I don't need to go all the way back. I'm just doing a cube. So I just did it a little ways back. Next I'll go to the other corner, and I'll line it up this corner to the vanishing point and just draw a little ways back. And then I'll go to this corner, line up this corner with the vanishing point, draw a little ways back. Now, if you try this last corner, if you try to line it up to your vanishing point, it's going to go through your square that you started with. So if this line, if it goes through your shape or your object, then we're just going to leave it out because it's a solid cube. You're not going to see this back corner of it back here, okay? And then all we got to do is connect these lines. So we want them to be horizontal or like parallel with this line that you already drew. Okay? And same way this way. You drew this vertical line, so I'm gonna draw a vertical line to connect them. And there you have a cube in 1 point perspective. Now, I'm gonna switch over to pencil to show you something cool, how to make it into something, okay? So let's say we have a long rectangle over here. Oops. And then you're going to line your corners up to your dot. So notice how I'm going this way with it. It doesn't matter where your shape is. Like with your dot, you just always have to line it up to that dot, no matter where it's at on your paper. And then I will connect them. Okay. So I have a box. Okay. This is the part where you can make it into a building or something. Maybe you are doing a candy land, so you could make it into a big giant candy bar. But if you're trying to make it into a building, let's say you want a roof on top, then you can draw the shape of your roof. And then that also gets connected back towards your vanishing point. Okay? And you're going to find like this corner of your rectangle, because that's where your roof is connected to. It's connected to that building. Okay? And a big part of perspective is erasing. So never be scared to erase to make it look better. Okay? And from there you can add your door, some windows, whatever you want to add to that shape. If you're doing I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I know what I was going to say. If you want to do a row of trees or a line of trees or a row of houses, then you have to stay within the guidelines. So that means I'm going to start at my vanishing point, and I drew 2 guidelines. So if I want to do a row of trees, the one in the front, and please don't do kindergarten trees like this. These trees are kindergarten trees. Don't do that. Create your own tree. You're creating your own world, so maybe your tree looks a little different, and that's okay. But the goal with the guidelines is that you want your tree or your object, no matter where it's at within those guidelines, to always touch this top part and always touch this bottom guideline. So that way it looks like it's getting smaller the further you go back. So my tree trunk came all the way down to this guideline, and the top of the tree is right up there. If you keep going like back here, then you also stay within those guidelines. Only touch the top guideline and the bottom. Okay, so there you can have something in your foreground or your middle ground or your background. Okay, so that's 1 point perspective. Good job. 2 point perspective is similar. I'm not going to show you how to change it into objects, because I just did that. And if you are in art 2, then you should have done some kind of 1 point perspective drawing before. So you know the idea of things that are closer to you are bigger and things that are further away are smaller. Okay, so I'm just going to give you kind of a general idea of how to do 2 point perspective and 3 point perspective. Okay, so first figure out where your horizon line is at. I'm going to make mine up here. I don't want it to be in the middle of the paper because it might be kind of boring. So I'm going to go for high. And then you got to find your 2 vanishing points on the horizon line somewhere. With 2-point perspective, it's different, but your vanishing points always have to stay on this horizon line if you're drawing something that has sky and land. Okay, so I'll do one here and one here. Okay, so think of it this way. We're going to start with a cube. So with 1-point perspective, it's going towards 1 point. With 2-point perspective, you're kind of moving the angle of that cube so that you can see 2 sides of it. So instead of starting with a shape, you will start with and it doesn't have to be in the middle. I'm going to do it over here. You'll start with a vertical line, just like that. And then it's the same idea. You connect these corners of your line to, if it's on the right side of the line, then go to that vanishing point on the right. If it's on the left side of the line, then you'll go to that vanishing point on the left. And take a look. It looks like it's missing the top of the box. That's because it is. If you are doing 2-point perspective and you draw an object below your vanishing points, then you will need to draw the top of the object. So you still want to line it up. If you try to think of how this rectangle or cube would close, kind of is in this direction. So this line is going that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect it to my vanishing point that it's pointing to. And then the same way for the right. Okay, so you have a cube in 2-point perspective. If it's above the vanishing points, here's what happens. You miss the bottom of the box if your object is above your vanishing point. So you will need to draw the bottom of the object. Okay? So that's 2-point perspective. Now, 3-point perspective, you don't necessarily need a horizon line, but if you are drawing a building, let's say you're standing on the ground and you're looking up towards a skyscraper, then you would need your horizon line. So let's do one like that. I'll draw my line here. So I have my sky and my ground. I'm going to start out similar to 2-point perspective by choosing 2 points on the horizon line. But if you're looking up at a skyscraper, then your vanishing point is going to be up. So I will choose my 3rd vanishing point to make this perfect triangle with the other 2 vanishing points, but up here in the sky where you're looking towards. Okay? And you start it the same way as 2-point perspective with just 1 line. But let's say it's not in the middle. If it was in the middle, then your 1 line would need to lead up towards your vanishing point. But let's say I want to start my line here. Then that also needs to lead up towards that 3rd vanishing point. No matter where you start, it needs to lead up towards that 3rd point. And then you can do the same as 2-point, where the right side of the line goes to the right point,
the left side of the line goes to the left point. Kind of makes a weird capital I when you're done. Okay, now instead of connecting these two sides straight up and down, I'm going to connect them angled towards that third vanishing point on both sides. So you see how it kind of looks like you're a little person way down here and you're looking up towards this tall skyscraper that gets smaller and smaller and smaller towards the sky, towards your third vanishing point. You could also do it the other way, looking down at something. Let's say you have your horizon line, your two dots, and your third one down here. This is what it would look like. So it looks like it's getting smaller and smaller towards this bottom part. Okay? I know that was very fast. I will be offering tutoring for you guys on Wednesday at 10:30. So I will post that Zoom link in our Canvas homepage. So if you need some one-on-one help with this, with perspective drawing, then please tune in Wednesday at 10:30 and I will be here to help you. Okay? Let me know if you guys have any questions.